consider it with a depth of intellectual strength. So the work of the Commission, among other rights, includes the right of self-determination and rights of children as well. So the Commission, by its very occasioning, has a duty to protect human rights. You don't need to seek a clearance from Ministry of Foreign Affairs here or from the government of Azad Kashmir or have a letter from President Bush. You have to move and go and invoke, provided you know the procedure. So the people of Kashmir, I believe, we have woefully failed to make use of this very competent forum. So we should not blame the United Nations in toto. We should blame our own self. It is only for the first time in the last 43 years that some Kashmiris based in London, we have friends, Dr. Yub is here, Faisal is here, the Kashmiris have used, rather invoked this procedure 1503 and have lodged a complaint on 6th of July 1990 at United Nations office in Geneva. But to lodge an application, you have to prove two things: that it is gross and systematic violation or abuse of human rights. And there's another good news, that a show cause notice under reference G/SO215/1 India has been issued to India. So India has been summoned to file a response. So these are people, so friends sitting here, who put their heads together, and I think we do excel in intellectual ability provided we put the heads together. A summary has confidentially been submitted to the Commission on Human Rights, we are told, and subcommission as well. The best strategy is to use this procedure 1503. It's very effective because the accused government is embarrassed and is responsive to such an international complaint, because it's an international complaint. The application passes the admission stage only if it has legal strength, intellectual strength, and vocal strength as well. So to lodge an application at the United Nations to get it admitted is a great thing. We have to see, but the problem with the procedure is that proceedings are in camera. So it is not open to public, but it is for the Commission on Human Rights to release bits of it to the press. Whenever they are available, we are willing to route that information to the distinguished members of the Kashmir Action Committee. The Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. This is also a committee. So there is not a racial discrimination going on in Kashmir, but you can invoke the principle, the procedure. It gives a lot of publicity and you get channelized to the United Nations. You don't need to have the government backing on that. There's another committee, which is Human Rights Committee. It is established under International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and it has a supervisory and examining power. Had we invoked that committee, we might have been able to persuade the United Nations to at least send a team to Kashmir to examine for itself and to file the report. These two forums can be used to trigger international concern in the genocide unleashed by Indian troops. There are other avenues. Now, there is a warning as well, but I will try to make it brief and conclude it quickly. Other avenues which do not fall within the competence of these committees, that is, that you can make an oral intervention before the commission or a subcommission. It is just a matter of understanding the procedures. Anyone can go to the United Nations, and when there is the agenda of gross violation of human rights, you can go not as an individual, but you have to seek the assistance of an NGO, non-governmental organization. So there is individual redress as well available, but the procedure is operative only for an individual in accordance with the protocol. So that's a very difficult procedure. Then there is something for people who are in detention and imprisonment. Nothing has been so far moved in this direction. Nobody has done anything. That the people suffering in detention centers, we just count the numbers, but there's no one to compile the record and at least lodge an application. There are people working on that. and maybe an application is lodged on that. May I also, it might sound as a joke, as somebody said, that there is a Bushmillah. You can use very effectively the UN procedure. There is a very interesting procedure that NGO representative may make oral statement as well by just merely walking up to the Secretary of the Commission or Subcommission and can ask him by means of a brief note, as the note was passed on to me to conclude. So the NGO rep has simply to go to the Secretary of the Commission, pass on a note, but the note has to give three things: name of the organization, person wishing to speak on the speaker's list. So, but in that case, it's advisable to discuss the statement with one or more sympathetic members, because the chair, as the chair is here, can rule. So, to defend the chair's ruling or to defend the challenge that you can provoke, challenge of the accused state, there should be another member who can sympathize with you and defend you thereupon. It's quite, I'm now concluding. So there are other techniques.
Carry on, please.
If you permit. I will not go into detail, but I will just skip over.
Detailed procedure by the past time. Okay, but as time for Namal,
Mr. Nazir, I hope you will have a meeting with Mr. Malik.
Right.
Because he is interested in it. And you can render very useful assistance.
There were many people interested. So
I think that
we would like to you as well.
I don't have a choice, but here I have similar respect and regard for Chief Justice Malik, and I have a special kinship with him because his son was my class fellow as well. So we graduated together. I am practicing international law and refugee law. If my services are required in any respect, I shall be all the time in your hands. So thank you very much.